is like no place else.
Wait, you can't recycle the bag. You have to throw it away.
Proper recycling keeps it that way for everyone. Bags tangle in machinery and can bring sorting efforts to a halt.
No bags.
Trash the bags and keep our recycling program moving forward.
No, Mom, look, no plastic bags.
Do your part to keep our recycling bag-free. Trash the tanglers or return them to participating retailers. For more information, visit TampaBayRecycles.org.
Psst, hey, would you do me a favor? Grab your phone or smart device and open up that camera. Then point it right here at the QR code. Do you have it? I'll wait a second. When you see the link pop up on your screen, give it a tap. You ready? Boom! Welcome to the Hillsborough County official YouTube channel. We've got all sorts of videos here, all about what makes our community such an awesome place. From local events and community highlights to what's in the perfect Cuban sandwich. We've got it all. We're always adding new things, so while you're here, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a new video. Here's that QR code again, just in case you missed it. Go ahead and check it out. Ooh. This must have fallen out of that video. This really is the perfect Cuban sandwich.
This year's hiking spree is going to be the best one yet. Find your adventure here in Hillsborough County. With 26 unique trails, including 3 special trails in Florida state parks, register at hcflgov.net/hiking spree to earn this year's medallion. Show us your favorite spot by taking a picture and tagging it #TakeAHikeHC. Happy hiking!
These are the jobs you may not see every day, but just know we're working hard to make Hillsborough County a better place to live, work, and play. Subscribe to our YouTube page for more great county-related videos, only on HTV.
Welcome to a meeting of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Welcome to the November 13th, 2023 regular meeting of the Hillsborough County City County Planning Commission. It wasn't you, she was echoing. So, we thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all online participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. For action items, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chair. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that introduction, I would like to ask Commissioner Bowden to lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Would all please rise.
For a quiet moment, I invite you to express gratitude for all the blessings in our community, those who serve to protect us, our family and friends who support us, the built and natural assets that create this wonderful place we live. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to go ahead and call roll, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Bowden?
Here.
Buzza? Cardenas?
Here.
Fernandez?
Here.
Kress?
Here.
Lauk?
Here.
Soria? Sieben?
Here.
Orton?
Lori Belangia for Michelle Orton.
Rodriguez?
Here.
Joseph?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. The next is approval of the minutes for the following meetings. Planning Commission regular meeting, September 11th, 2023. Planning Commission public hearing on Hillsborough County plan amendments, September 11th, 2023. Planning Commission public hearing on City of Tampa plan amendments, September 11th, 2023. Planning Commission regular meeting minutes, October 9th. And Planning Commission public hearing on Hillsborough County plan amendments, October 9th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve? Commissioner Lauk.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion approved by Commissioner Lauk, a second by Commissioner Kress. Is there any more discussion from the commissioners? Oh yeah, it's not a roll call vote. If anybody doesn't agree or all those in favor say aye. There you go.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any nays? All right, motion passes. All right. Next up is standards of conduct and oath of office. for our new appointee.
Yes, I believe the clerk's office will administer the oath of office. Commissioner Sebian.
All right, please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, your name,
I, Alyssa Sieben,
a Planning Commission appointee of Hillsborough County,
a Planning Commission appointee of Hillsborough County,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of my appointed office
the duties of my appointed office
in a fair,
in a fair,
equitable,
equitable,
ethical,
ethical,
and dignified manner,
and dignified manner,
and in compliance
and in compliance
with all applicable laws
with all applicable laws
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
Hillsborough County,
Hillsborough County,
and the practices and procedures
and the practices and procedures
established by the Planning Commission.
established by the Planning Commission.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sieben. Welcome aboard. Did you want to say a small word to introduce yourself?
Alyssa Sieben, I am a 33-year resident of the city of Tampa, and my family was born and raised here as well. So I'm very proud of this city, and I'm very glad to be a member of this board.
All right, we're glad to have you. Welcome aboard. All right, on to our next agenda item, election of officers, and that's with me and Mr. Robin as presenters. Did you want to say a word before I get started, Mr. Robin, on anything, or?
No, go right ahead, Mr. Chair.
All right. So we have multiple offices up for voting. The first is, I'll go office by office to see if there's any nominations or motions for anyone to be nominated. So we'll start off with the chair. Are there any nominations from the commissioners for chair? Commissioner Lau?
You mean other than the names we already have nominated?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Clarification.
All right. I am not seeing any at this time. So did you want to add to that?
I would suggest that you at least announce for the record who the nominees were.
Oh, yeah. The nominees are myself and no one else. All right. Seeing no other nominations, then I guess the ayes have it, and I am chair again.
Sounds like you made it by acclamation.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right. Now moving on to our next office, vice chair. The names we have for that are Matt Buzza and Nigel Joseph, which comes off now at this point. So I'll open it up to motions from the floor from the commissioners on vice chair. Commissioner Lau?
I would like to throw my name in the hat for this year.
Very good. All right, so we have Commissioner Lauk. Were there any other nominations from the commissioners at this time? All right, not seeing any, then what, do we take a roll call vote on this one, or do we?
Nope.
Oh,
Well,
we
we've got-
complete the form, yeah.
There should be ballots at everyone's chair. If you'll complete the one that's designated for vice chair and insert the name of your choice, and please put your name on the ballot as well. I'll come around and collect them.
One at a time, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried
'cause-
that one year and
Yeah,
got my
because
hand
if,
slapped.
because depending on the outcome of this one, it might impact the outcome.
Yeah.
Okay, for the record, have ballot from Commissioner Bowden for Matt Buzza. Or actually, the votes for Matt Buzza are, Commissioner Buzza are Commissioner Bowden, Commissioner Cardenas, and Commissioner Fernandez. And the votes for Commissioner Lauk are Commissioner Seibin, Commissioner Lauk, Commissioner Joseph, and Commissioner Karen. So it's a 4-to-1 vote for Commissioner Lauk. Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have member at large, sorry. And the names we have are Matt Buzza, Bryce Bowden, and Karen Kress. Are there any other nominations by the commissioners at this point in time? Not seeing any, then again, go ahead and fill out your form, and Mr. Robin will come around and collect those.
I have the following ballots cast for Commissioner Bowden, and that is by Commissioner Bowden and Commissioner Joseph. I have the following ballots cast for Commissioner Kress by Commissioner Fernandez, Commissioner Cardenas, Commissioner Kress. When you used your first name, it confused me. Sorry. Commissioner Lauk and Commissioner Seibin. So that's a 5-2 vote. Congratulations, Commissioner Kress.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Next up, we have TPO member, and we don't have anyone running for that, so we will need some sort of nomination here, I would presume.
I will just share that the TPO board meetings typically are on the second Wednesday of the month in the morning. They have started at 9 or 10 o'clock, depending on the length of their agenda. They usually wrap up by noon. They do have one public hearing in the evening that is typically in June, also on the second Wednesday. So I know that's a big time commitment. But,
All right. Commissioner Lauk.
I'll put on the record. No, I don't think you saw. I think you did the opposite of selling it. But for future reference, if the day of the week ever moves, so if we get 3-4 months down the road, I would be open to that. But Wednesday mornings are an impossibility. So I just want to put it out there on the record that.
Well, I'll nominate myself for it. I wanted to do it last time, and Commissioner Surya beat me in the voting, so he got to do it. He's not here this time. So I'll just go ahead and nominate myself. No other nominations? I guess that's...
Second.
All right, with no other nominations, then I guess I have this one too. So, TPO member, congratulations to me. TPO alternate, any other nominations? Do you want an explanation of that one, Commissioner Fernandez?
Yeah, what is it?
it's basically if he cannot attend the TPO meeting, then the alternate is called in. So Commissioner Bernstein, I think, maybe attended twice last year for Commissioner Seria.
Okay, I'll throw myself in for that.
That's good, because I'm going to nominate you, Commissioner Cardenas, so. Fernandez. All right, so we have Fernandez and Cardenas. Are there any other nominations from the floor at this point in time? Oh, are you accepting? No, I nominated him. You don't have to. I mean, yeah, you can deny the chairman his nomination if you like. I mean, you're totally open to do that. All right, so we have 2 nominations. Are there any more? Not seeing any, then go on ahead and fill out your form, and Mr. Robin will collect it. Alternate, just the alternate, yeah.
I have a single vote for Commissioner Cardenas from Commissioner Lauk. The other ballots are cast for Commissioner Fernandez by Commissioners Cardenas, Fernandez, Kress. I'm missing a signature on one, so if you'll identify yourself in a second. Commissioners Fernandez, Cardenas, Sieben, and Fernandez again. Okay, thank you. So congratulations, Commissioner Fernandez.
All right, so we are done with our elected offices. I think now it's these committees. So if we're not doing affordable housing? Okay. Okay. All right. So we will start off with the PIC, and the only person we had sign up was Commissioner Kress. So congratulations, Commissioner Kress. You're appointed back on time. Well, we don't really vote. It's my discretion. So bang, you're on there. All right, for the Budget Committee, the only individuals who signed up were myself and Commissioner Buzza, so I'm going to go ahead and put Commissioner Buzza on there. I think I'm doing enough. And then we have the River TAC, which we didn't have anyone sign up for. Is there anyone interested?
When does it meet? How often? I'm out. I'm out.
No, they meet the second Tuesday, and I believe it's in the afternoon. Second Tuesday afternoons, 1:30? Yeah.
What about you, Commissioner Sieben? I'll put you on there. Don't, you know, if you got the time for it, don't be shy. Yeah, if you're busy, then that's not good. Okay. Commissioner Lauk just shut down, so that looks like, oh, okay. The River TAC, it's the River
Technical Advisory Committee.
Yeah. All right, you don't have to nominate yourself. You just, I got to put you on there, and then you just got to agree to do it. So, all right, Commissioner Sieben,
Okay,
sweet, way to
great.
jump in. I like that. All right, and those were our ad hoc committees and boards. So that is it for everything. Thank you all for your volunteering, for your assistance in all this. Tracy, did you have anything to add on top of that? No? All right. All right, well, we will move on to our next agenda item then for this evening, and it's public input for items not scheduled on the agenda. I believe we had 2 people sign up online, so I will check to see if they're here and want to say something right now. We'll start with Will Laurie. Is Will Laurie on the line?
Will did not check into the meeting.
All right, and what about Robert? No last name.
I do not see Robert in the WebEx as
Alrighty
well.
then. That was easy enough. So we will move on to our next agenda item, which is item number 4, our 2 action items for this evening. First one is 4A, Plant City Capital Improvements Element Schedule of Projects, and the presenter is Erica Larson.
Good afternoon. This is Erica Larson, Planning Commission staff. This item is the Planning Commission's review of Plant City's Capital Improvements Element, CIE Schedule of Projects Update. This is an action item and a resolution is to be provided for your vote. Chapter 163 requires the schedule of projects or the list of projects addressing level of service and adopted in the comprehensive plan be updated on an annual basis. The update would replace the existing CIE schedule and the comprehensive plan with the schedule listed in your packets. City staff identified projects in the CIP that affect level of service. These items make up the schedule of projects. The update is accomplished by ordinance, which is explicitly permitted under Chapter 163. Additionally, the plans of other agencies are incorporated. There are 4 main categories included in the CIE schedule: streets, which includes sidewalks, bridges, and other pedestrian enhancements; utilities, maintenance, and operations, which includes both water and sewer projects; stormwater, and parks and recreation. The total 5-year funding amount for these projects is approximately $67.48 million. The Planning Commission staff examined the CIE schedule with respect to the goals, objectives, and policies and the comprehensive plan. A few of these policies are identified here, with the full list of policies identified in the staff report. The schedule is consistent with Capital Improvements Policy 1.1.14, which states that the top priority for funding is repairs or replacement of obsolete or worn out facilities, and a majority of the projects meets this description. The CIE schedule is consistent with Public Facilities Element PFE Objective 1.2, requiring coordination with the 10-year Water Supply Facilities Work Plan WSFWP. The CIE schedule furthers the intent of the infrastructure sub-elements, which includes language that states provide quality infrastructure and services to residents and enhancing transportation options. Planning Commission staff recommends the proposed CIE update to be found consistent with the comprehensive plan, and that this recommendation be forwarded to City Commission for approval. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
All right, was there any other type of applicant presentation or anything? No, all righty. Then I will turn it over to the planning commissioners for questions, comments, discussions, this item. Not seeing anyone jumping to it, then I will go on ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to find FY24 to FY28 CIA schedule of projects consistent with the Plan City Comprehensive Plan and forward this recommendation to the Plan City Commission.
All right, we have a motion of approval by Commissioner Fernandez, a second to that by Commissioner Lauk. Any more discussion, questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any, then we'll all signify, will you signify approval by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Aye. Are there any nays? Not seeing any, then the motion passes unanimously. All right. Thank you very much for the information, and we will move on to our next agenda item. Item 4B is Port Tampa Bay Standard Work Permit Application number 23-035, Spoil Island, 2D Breakwaters, and the presenter is Melissa Dickens.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Dickens, Planning Commission staff. One moment while I get the presentation loaded, please. All right, again, this is consistency finding for Port Tampa Bay Standard Work Permit number 23-035. This is for proposed breakwaters at Spoil Island 2D. This is an action item and a resolution is provided for your vote this afternoon. The purpose of this item is to review the proposed permit for consistency with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. This is in accordance with both the ports authorizing legislation, which is Chapter 95-488, as well as the Planning Commission's authorizing legislation 97-351. This kind of zoomed out map shows the location of the project. Island 2D is directly south of Port Tampa Bay, and the project area is on the western side of the island. This is a more zoomed in aerial of the location of the project. The project is proposed to be located about 500 feet offshore of the island. The proposed breakwaters are slated to go in this red box here. Existing conditions on the island: this is an active spoil island. The island is experiencing significant erosion. This has been an issue on the island for several decades. And the proposed project is intended to provide a reliable long-term solution to the erosion that is being caused by the wave energy that exists on the western shoreline. The project is proposing to install segmented breakwaters, a series of approximately 29 breakwaters on the western side of the island to help attenuate the wave energy. These breakwaters will be a beneficial reuse of the northbound span of the current Howard Franklin Bridge. So when the new bridge is constructed, the existing bridge will be essentially disassembled and shipped by barge over to the spoil island, where it would then be used for wave attenuation in the breakwaters. This project also includes warning lights and signage to ensure that there is safety for all vessels and marine traffic. Considerations made by Planning Commission staff in the consistency finding. Again, there is the ongoing erosion on the island. There is no net adverse environmental impacts. This does not impact any seagrass habitat. And there are a number of potential environmental benefits to this project. It would allow the benthic community growth behind the breakwater. It would enable additional hardened aquatic habitat for marine life to attach to. And it also would result in a better environment for the seabirds that use the island for feeding and nesting. It's also a beneficial reuse of the bridge material. This bridge material may ordinarily end up in a landfill, and so this would be a beneficial reuse of that concrete to be used for another environmental benefit. And of note, the Agency on Bay Management, Natural Resources, Environmental Impact Review Committee also reviewed and supports this project. And Planning Commission staff recommends finding Port Tampa Bay permit number 23-035 consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. This concludes the presentation. I am available if there are any questions, and we also have representatives from the port and their consultant here as well.
All right. Was that the only presentation?
Yes.
The port have, oh, okay. All right, then I will turn it over to, oh no, we didn't have anyone sign up for the public comment on this one, so now I'll turn it over to the commissioners for questions, comments, discussions of this item. Not seeing any, then I will go on ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Commissioner Bowden.
I make a motion to find the Port of Tampa Bay Standard Work Permit application number 23-035 Spoil Island 2D breakwaters consistent.
All right.
To transmit to the BOCC.
Just a point of clarification, this is the final consistency. The Planning Commission makes the final consistency determination for this item.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Bowden. Do we have any other seconds to that, or Commissioner?
Second.
All right. We have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Bowden, a second to that by Commissioner Lauk. Are there any more questions or discussions? Question? Nope. On this side? Nope, not seeing any. Then we'll take our vote. Would all in favor of the motion say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays? Not hearing. All right. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up on the agenda is no more action items, so everybody can relax a tiny bit. Our first briefing is 5A, PC CPA 23-01, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, east of South Baptist Church Road, south of Alexander Street, and the presenter is Yanika Mills.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yanika Mills, Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present PCCPA 2301, located on the east side of South Baptist Church Road, just south of Alexander Street. This is a privately initiated plan amendment, small in scale. It's a little over 40 acres. Currently, the future land use designation is Hillsborough County Residential 1, Plant City Commercial, as well as Plant City Residential. And the applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation to Plant City Residential 9. Here is the general location map. This amendment is located within the southern portion of Plant City, just south of Alexander Street and west of James L. Redmond Parkway. Here's an aerial of the site. To give you some context, again, the site is outlined in pink. It's just south of Alexander Street. Here's James L. Redmond Parkway, located further to the east, and Baptist Church Road abuts the site along its northwestern boundary. As far as uses in the area, directly to the north, we have a office building and light commercial uses here. Then we have a large shopping center located here. Along the southeastern portion of the site along Durr Road, there's single-family residential here. And then along the southwestern portion of the site, there's additional single-family here. There's a church located here, and then we have a presence of multifamily residential located along the northwestern boundary of the site. Here is a photo of the site. This is looking east into the site from South Baptist Church Road. This is along Durr Road looking north into the site. And here is a photo of the multifamily that's located along the northwestern boundary of the site. And here is the medical office, and the site is located off to the right here. Currently, the future land use designation of the site, again, we have the Plant City Commercial that's here in the red. The predominant area of the site is currently designated as Hillsborough County Residential 1. There is a slither of Residential 20, a parcel. The line is kind of covering it, but there is a sliver of Residential 20 here. Other future land use designations in the immediate area include Gateway District in this light purple here. We have a presence of Plant City Residential 12 in the orange, presence of Residential 6 in the yellow. And we also have a presence of Residential 2, which is in Hillsborough County to the south of the site. Oops. There we go. The applicant, again, is proposing a future land use designation to change the site entirely to Residential 9. As far as existing conditions, currently the site could be considered for up to 49 dwelling units or over 441,000 square feet of non-residential entitlements. If the proposal were to be approved, the applicant could possibly develop up to 360 dwelling units or over 609,000 square feet of non-residential uses. So both the intensity as well as density would increase on the site. This concludes my presentation for PCCPA 2301. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. I have a question just to get it started off. That
Yes.
residential 20 sliver is a part of this?
That is actually a part of the site.
Okay. And they're going from that to residential 9, which is assumed to be like a fair balance.
Yes, I made that clarification to the applicant, and I did let them know that they were losing 5 dwelling units. They are very aware.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions on this item? I see Commissioner Buzza isn't here. He probably might have had some for you, but Not seeing anyone else at this time. We will thank you for the information. Look forward to it coming back to us. All right. Next up, we have 5B, PCCPA 23-02, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, north of Baker Street, east of Charlie Taylor Road, and the presenter is Krista Kelly.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Krista Kelly, Planning Commission staff. Let me pull this up here real quick. This afternoon, I'm presenting to you Comprehensive Plan PC CPA 2302. This is a privately initiated small-scale amendment. The subject site is 7.3 acres in size approximately. Currently, it's pending a voluntary annexation, which means it is in the county, but it's pending annexation into Plant City. The applicant's requesting a change from Hillsborough County Residential 4 to Plant City Industrial, and requesting the extension of the I-4 tech overlay to encompass the property. The general location map shows the site on the eastern side of Plant City. It is within the boundary of the Northeast Plant City Area Master Plan. Specifically, it's on the north side of Baker Street or US 92 and just east of Charlie Taylor Road. The site is approximately 1 mile west of County Line Road and approximately 2 miles east of Park Road. Both of these roads provide convenient access to the I-4 interchanges. This is a bird's eye view of the site. The star just indicates the general area. It's kind of spread out. As you can see, there are a variety of uses on site. On the northwest corner, there's an unoperating car lot, and then there's open storage, offices in the back. I believe it was at one point an active mobile home sales operation. There are similar uses to the east as you go down US 92. All of this area is in the county, including the area south across Baker Street or US 92. Again, you'll see a variety of retail uses, including restaurants. There's a grocery store, a bar, and more open storage. This is the street view looking at the subject site on the northeast corner of the intersection of US 92 and Charlie Taylor Road, right here. This is the continuation of the subject site at the street view looking east along US 92. And this is the mobile home sales operation. This is looking east along US 92 towards County Line Road, trying to give you a view of both sides of the road. Again, we're back at the intersection, looking at the northwest corner of the intersection of US 92 and Charlie Taylor Road. The subject site is to the right of this image. As you can see, the area is in open space and agricultural uses, and further beyond these tree lines, there are scattered homes. This is looking west from the intersection of US 92 going towards Park Road. The adopted future land use map currently shows the site designated Residential 4, which is a Hillsborough County designation, as is the area to the south, including also Residential 2, a section of Residential 2 in this area, and then Residential 1 in this area. This striped or hashed line is the I-4 Tech corridor or overlay. And as you see, it stops at the northern boundary of the property. This is the proposed future land use map showing the site designated industrial and the expansion of the I-4 Tech corridor overlay. Currently, under the designation of R4, the site can be developed with up to 29 dwelling units and approximately 79,000 square feet of non-residential use. If the proposed change were approved to industrial, it would eliminate the residential use of the property and increase the amount of non-residential or industrial use to 158,994 square feet approximately. Overall, the proposed amendment would allow for a range of industrial uses and eliminate the potential for residential use. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Were there any questions on this one from the commissioner? I had one. You said this was a privately initiated amendment?
Yes.
Huh. All right. Has this area come before us before? No?
There was a site, let me go back. That's a very good memory. Just to the north of this site, in this area about 2 years ago, an amendment came in requesting the same thing. This site and the site above it are part of a large business park that is expanding, and that's one of the reasons that they're proposing to amend this site.
Okay. All right. Were there any other questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any. We'll thank you for the presentation and look forward to it coming back to us for action.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have 5C, PCA CPA 2303, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, north of also Brook Street East and east of Hitchcock Street. And the presenter is Unica Mills.
All right, good evening, good afternoon again, Unica Mills Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present PCCPA 2303. This is a privately initiated plan amendment, small in scale. It's a little over 1 acre, and the applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation from residential 6 to industrial. This request is centrally located within Plant City, specifically on the north side of Alsabrook Street, east of Hitchcock Street. Here's an aerial of the site. The site is outlined in pink. To give you some context of the area, we have a large area of industrial and outdoor uses here. There are several parcels that's owned by the city of Plant City, located here. On the east side of the site, there is a presence of single-family residential. Also, on the south side of Alsabrook, there's additional single-family residential. Currently, the site is vacant. Here's the subject site. Currently, they are using it for outdoor storage. Here is directly west of the site. Again, this is a parcel that's owned by the city of Plant City. As you move further west, this is a small strip center. This is a presence of the single-family residential that's located to the east of the site. And currently, again, the future land use designation is residential 6. Other future land use designations in the area include a presence of industrial uses in the gray. We have commercial in the red, additional residential 6 in the yellow, residential 12 in the orange color. Light commercial office in the, mixed-use residential commercial in the lavender here. We also have the downtown core to the northwest. And the proposal, again, is to change the future land use designation to industrial. Currently, under the existing entitlements, the site could be considered for 7 dwelling units or over 14,000 square feet of non-residential. If it were to be approved for industrial, 0 dwelling units could be developed on the site, but the non-residential would increase to over 28,000 square feet of non-residential uses. So basically, the proposed amendment would allow for a range of industrial uses if proposed and eliminate the potential for residential. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions or discussion from the commissioners on this one? Not seeing any, then we'll thank you. And we'll move on to our next item of business. 5D PC CPA 23-04 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment south of Trapnell Road, east of James L. Redmond Highway, and the presenter is Krista Kelly.
Thank you again. Krista Kelly, Planning Commission staff. Down. Your next amendment is PCCPA 2304. Again, this is a privately initiated small-scale amendment. Your briefing packet states that the site is approximately 1 acre in size. On further review, staff in concurrence with the applicant have determined there's an additional sliver of a property that raises the acreage to approximately 1.5 acres, and that will be updated in your final staff report. The applicant is requesting a change from Hillsborough County Residential 1. This site has been annexed into Plant City, so it's identified as a transitional area on the Plant City future land use map. The applicant's requesting a change to Residential 4, Plant City Residential 4. As you can see on the location map, the site's in the far south portion of Plant City. It's it's south of Trapnell Road, east of James L. Redmond Highway, or State Road 39. The site is adjacent to an area designated as the Gateway District, which is a mixed-use district and encourages higher densities and intensities around that area. The site is approximately 2 miles north of State Road 60. This is a bird's eye view of the site. The red star indicates the general location. It is a small portion of a much larger site, and the additional sliver is this roadway right here that runs along the western boundary of the subject site that will be included in the final acreage. As you can see, the area is currently very agricultural and rural in character. There are active agricultural operations and rural home sites on large tracts. The site itself is sandwiched in between residential units to the east and west. They're on approximately 1 acre tracts. This is a street view from Trapnell Road looking south at the subject site. And again, these are the houses that are on either side of the subject property. This is looking from the southern side of the subject site towards Trapnell Road. And this is looking east along Trapnell Road towards James L. Redmond Parkway. The subject site, again, is on the left. And this is looking west down Trapnell Road towards Cowart Road. The adopted future land use map, as I stated earlier, shows it as a transitional area with an underlying land use of Hillsborough County Residential 1. As you can see to the south and east of the property, there's designated Plant City Residential 4. This was the subject of a plan amendment approximately a year ago, in which this area was amended from Hillsborough County Residential 1, annexed and changed to Plant City Residential 4. The purple area indicates the Gateway District, and again, there are a number of parcels to the west of the site that are still identified as transitional areas. The property now shown on the proposed map is designated Residential 4. Under the current designation of Residential 1 of Hillsborough County, approximately one dwelling unit could be developed on site, and approximately 9,801 square feet of non-residential may be developed. If the amendment were approved and it was amended to Residential 4, up to 4 dwelling units could be developed. However, no non-residential use of that property would be permitted. Overall, the proposed amendment would allow for a higher residential density and eliminate the non-residential use of the property. And that concludes my presentation. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, were there any questions or discussion items from the commissioners on this one? Not seeing any, then we will thank you for the presentation. And move on to our next one. It's 5E PCCPA 2305 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, north of Knights Griffin Road, east of Paul Buckman Highway. And the presenter is Krista Kelly again.
Thank you. There we go. And for my final amendment, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2305. Again, this is a privately initiated amendment. It's considered a large-scale amendment. It's greater than 50 acres. In fact, it's approximately 410 acres in size. The applicant's requesting a change on multiple properties designated Hillsborough County Residential 1 and Plant City Residential 4, Plant City Commercial, and Natural Preservation. The applicant's requesting a change to Plant City Industrial. As you can see, this site is on the far north edge of Plant City. Again, it is in the northeast Plant City area master plan boundary. The site is east of Paul Buckman Highway and north of Knights Griffin Road. The site is approximately 3 miles north of the I-4 interchange at Paul Buckman Highway. This is an aerial of the site. The 2 stars indicate the general vicinity of the lands combined to make the project site. This area is in the Hillsborough County area, currently designated Residential 1. And this is in Plant City, and it's a combination of the other land uses, Commercial, Residential 4, and Natural Preservation. As you can see, the surrounding area is rural in character. There are scattered clusters of rural residential development. There is a residential community at the intersection of Paul Buckman and Knights Griffin Road on the northeast and northwest side of the highway. To the south of the site, this is the McIntosh Preserve. It's a large park, and it's used as a watershed as well. And then Knights Griffin Road, as you travel eastward, you can see scattered home sites and agricultural activities. From the street looking north, this is the subject property currently being used for agricultural purposes off of Knights Griffin Road. This is traveling north on Paul Buckman Highway, looking at the west side of the subject property. And this is looking from the southwest corner of Knights Griffin Road and Paul Buckman Highway at the intersection, just to give you an idea of the activities in the area. This is directly south of the subject property, closest to the intersection, off of Knights Griffin Road. It at one point was an light industrial operation. And this is looking on the eastern side of the subject property from Knights Griffin Road. The adopted land use map again shows the site Plant City Residential 4. There's a little tiny square of commercial, approximately 40 acres in size, and natural preservation scattered throughout. And then Residential 1, this area is pending annexation and is currently in Hillsborough County. The proposed map shows the entire site designated Plant City Industrial. Under the current designations, up to 1,515 dwelling units could potentially be developed, and approximately 4,400,000 square feet, or 4.4 million square feet of non-residential. Under the potential change, residential would be eliminated, and up to 8.9 million square feet of industrial uses may be permitted. The proposed use overall would allow for a range of industrial uses and eliminate the potential for residential use. And that concludes this presentation. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or discussion items from the commissioners? I did have a question. This one was, you said was private also. Am I allowed to know who the applicant is at this point in time? I'm just curious.
Do you happen to know who the applicant is?
I know Stearns Weaver is the consultant and applicant on behalf of the property owners, and I don't recall.
All right.
Look it up on the application, but we can.
That's good enough for me. That's enough. I'll leave that where it is. Commissioner Fernandez.
I was just going to say it's owned by the farm still at the moment, but I'm just astonished how much strawberry farms Plant City is losing since I've been on this board. This is a huge site of strawberries. We're just shocked that they're sort of moving away from that.
Thank you. Commissioner Laut.
I apologize, I missed it in the presentation. When can we expect to see this?
December 11th.
Thank you.
And Krista, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I looked up, it does indicate in the application that Circle G Farm and Ranch LLC is the current owner.
Okay. I wanted to ask if you could, and you two also, Unica, could you reach out to Commissioner Buzza with these? He's traveling right now, so he wasn't here to speak on any of this stuff, but he might be one of made abreast of this stuff coming up,
Absolutely.
coming ahead of us, and get his input on it, because he's obviously representing that community. So I think it would be a good idea.
We will do that. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other comments or discussion items from the commissioner? Not seeing any. We'll thank you for the presentation.
Thank
Move
you.
on to our next agenda item, and that would be 5F, TTCPA 2301, Temple Terrace. All right. Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 10024 Davis Road, and the presenter is Unica Mills.
Again, Unica Mills Planning Commission staff, and I'm here to present TTCPA 2301, located at 10024 Davis Road. This is a privately initiated plan amendment, and it's a little over 4 acres, and the applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation from Hillsborough County Residential 6 to Temple Terrace Residential 9. Here's the general locator map. Again, it's located on the west side of Davis Road, just north of Temple Terrace Highway. Here's an aerial. The site is outlined in pink. Davis Road runs along the eastern boundary of the site. And as you can see from this aerial, it's predominantly single-family residential. Here's looking north on to Davis Road. The subject site in this photo is on the left. This is looking south on Davis Road. The subject site is on the right-hand side. This is just south of the subject site. There's a large lot single-family residential home. Currently, again, the future land use designation of the site is Hillsborough County Residential 6. Other future land use designations in the area include a presence of Temple Terrace Residential 18 in the dark brown, Hillsborough County Residential 12 in the orange color. We also have a presence of residential Temple Terrace Residential 9 in the tan color located here. And the proposal is to change the future land use designation to Temple Terrace Residential 9. Currently, under the existing development potential, 25 dwelling units could be developed, or over 45,520 square feet of non-residential entitlements. If the proposal is approved, it would increase to a potential for 37 dwelling units that could possibly be developed. The intensity potential would remain the same. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any, not even from our Temple Terrace representative. All right, well, that's a win.
I've already looked at it.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll thank you for the presentation and move on to our next agenda item. All right, 5G is unincorporated Hillsborough County Future Land Use Section Update, the big one. Presenter is not Melissa Leinhardt, it's Andrea Papandrew.
Good afternoon, Andrea Papandrew, Planning Commission staff. David Hay and I will be presenting an update to the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use section. So for this presentation, we're going to do a quick recap on the future growth projections and our public engagement, and then we're going to focus mostly on the proposed policy updates for each of the 8 proposed goals. So the goal of updating the unincorporated county comprehensive plan is to address growth through 2045. So our latest population projections see an increase of about 350,000 more people and 107,000 more jobs. So we're going to see an increasing demand for transportation, our services, schools, recreation. And so for this update, we're trying to identify how we should grow and where we should grow. So the map on the screen before you shows the urban service area in red. The entire square shows all of the boundaries of the county. So the urban service area is part of the adopted future land use elements current growth management strategy. Currently, the growth management strategy section states that a goal of at least 80% of all population growth will occur within the urban service area. And that urban service area helps identify the urban and suburban development versus the rural areas. So as we continue to grow, we recognize that there's only about 20% of land left that is vacant, developable, or redevelopable within the urban service area. So Planning Commission staff did review the acres of developable and redevelopable land within the urban service area and the 3 municipalities. Within all 3 municipalities in the urban service area, the total acres are 51,077. When we break that down, about 65% or 33,282 acres are in the urban service area for the county, and then 35% or about 17,796 acres are in the 3 municipalities. And then you've seen this map in our August briefing as well. This shows the developable and redevelopable land that's left, with the purple for the developable and the orange showing the redevelopable land. And this is based on data from May of 2023, and it excludes wetlands and conservation areas. So what the gist of this map is there's very few large lot sizes left. And even some of those large lots that are left already have entitlements or other associated constraints on them. So for our outreach so far, we've had multiple community meetings, virtually and in person. We've done 3 project advisory team meetings. We just had 2 meetings in November showing the public a similar presentation on the proposed changes. And we have 2 additional project advisory team meetings this week for additional feedback. And then we did an online survey earlier this year with 1,800 responses. So what we've heard so far, just we broke down the survey results for you in the August briefing, but just to recap, what we've heard are to minimize environmental impacts, more conservation of rural areas, using the vacant land that's left before we expand, looking at our safety with our biking and walking and our traffic, more affordable housing and a diversity of housing options, and then maintaining our character of our neighborhoods. So now I'm going to hand it over to David Hay to walk through the proposed changes.
Thank you very much. David Hay, Planning Commission staff. The next item, as you are aware, we've been dealing with Senate Bill 250. And Senate Bill 250, the intent of that bill was to accelerate the rebuilding after last year's hurricane season. This legislation applies to all local governments within a 100-mile buffer of where the natural disaster occurred. Local government may not adopt more restrictive or burdensome language to their comprehensive plans or land development codes. Well, we've been following that legislation, so all of the proposed language that you are seeing here today has been run by our Hillsborough County Attorney's Office to ensure compliance. This bill is in effect until October 1st, 2024, but you know, up in Tallahassee, the winds of change are always blowing through there. So just recently, they've amended that bill. It's waiting for the signature of the governor, but we would not be under, Hillsborough County would not be under the restrictions outlined in Senate Bill 250 any longer if the governor signs that bill. So we're waiting for that. So we'll just see. We'll just see what happens with that. As we discussed in the August briefing, we are considering how to accommodate both an inward and outward future growth as part of this update to the comprehensive plan. Inward growth will be covered by Goal 2, which I'll be going through next. For outward growth, how and when do we expand outside of the urban service area? That's a question we're always dealing with. We discussed this topic in detail in our community meetings this summer. And this topic was presented to you at your first workshop covering the flu update back in August. This goal will cover newly introduced strategic expansion language, as well as some minor revisions to the rural area policies, such as simplifying the existing clustering language, removing redundant language, and relocating some well and septic language to the one water section. Up until now, expansion of the urban service area has only been through an applicant-driven process or request. We, as your Planning Commission staff, recognize the need for a more proactive strategy for expansion that is publicly initiated. We know that identifying where we should expand is a very complicated question that will take a lot more time and coordination and public engagement. So today we are just looking at criteria to consider for the future. Essentially, we are trying to set a framework in place so that when an urban service area expansion is identified as needed, that we will have criteria in place to proactively address that growth. So with this effort, we ask three major questions. Before we begin to look at the where, we have to consider the when, how, and what. When is it time to consider expansion? How should we plan for that expansion? And what should we look at in the expansion areas? On the next few slides, we will go through each of these three questions and discuss the potential for growth outside of the urban service area. So the when is it time to consider the expansion? We will evaluate the timing according to our population projections, which will help us determine the amount of available developable, and redevelopable land, and will ensure the availability of land for our homes, jobs, and daily needs. The how. How should we plan for the expansion? First, we'll identify and establish an expansion area or areas. This will allow for master planning of existing rural areas. This does not mean that the urban service boundary moves immediately. This will provide for a transition to a suburban or urban development pattern over the horizon of that planning process, which looks out to 2045. This approach allows different policies or tools to be applied in the expansion areas to guide new growth and infrastructure planning. Amendments to the capital improvement, the CIS, may be needed to reflect needed infrastructure to ensure adequate public facilities. The what? Lastly, an urban expansion area master plan will provide a sustainable mixed-use development pattern. It will identify needed public facilities and plan for them to be provided timely with new development. Align impact fees, mobility fees, and other tools to support the growth expected. Explore public and private partnerships for infrastructure. It would coordinate with external agencies such as HART, EPC, and the school district. Will consider the fiscal impact to the overall county. Provide access to employment, daily commercial needs, cultural and recreational amenities, and community centers. And all through that, pursue community input and engagement. So goal 2, we're going to talk about the inward growth strategies. For goal 2, which is the growth management goal, we added a future land use categories table so everyone can see all the future land use categories, their maximum densities and intensities, and their typical uses all in one place, so you don't have to be searching through the whole comp plan. The density and floor area ratio calculation and bonuses language was simplified to make it easier to understand. Can't really talk today. New centers and connections language has been added under the goals, which I will explore in the next slide. This goal also provides for an updated transfer of development rights pilot program and designated receiving areas to make this program more implementable and a companion to upcoming LDC amendments. We have also started research for the board direction given at the October 12th BOCC public hearing regarding congregate living facilities. That exact language is forthcoming. Centers and connections is a policy approach within the future land use section, specifically to implement the proposed future land use goal 2. The intent is to streamline the comprehensive plan amendment process by allowing density and intensity bonuses within certain areas of unincorporated Hillsborough County, essentially directing growth to areas where it is desired and maintainable. These bonuses would be tied to specific design provisions and required improvements as a part of a development, meaning there would be public benefits if someone were to choose to use it. This approach would be incentive-based, meaning that it would be an option for property owners, but it would not be a requirement. Overall, this approach is intended to incentivize growth in areas the community wants to see it and that has existing infrastructure while maintaining the variety of choices Hillsborough County enjoys today, such as urban, suburban, and rural lifestyles. Examples of what these increases could look like in various areas of the counties are shown here on the right. On to the map. This slide shows the proposed centers and connections map. There were many different things that were considered when developing this map, including places that support walkability, centers that are already designated for growth, and major intersections and activity centers. This map was also updated based on feedback from the community. We simplified applicable areas by removing some connections and centers in South County, removing a couple of centers in Brandon, and tightening the buffer around the connections to 1/8 of a mile and 1/4 of a mile around centers to make sure we're focusing on desirable areas for the bonus and not encroaching into established single-family neighborhoods. We also added some centers in the university area, which had overwhelming positive feedback in our MetroQuest survey. Goal 3, community context. There were only minor revisions in this section. The compatibility and community planning section were combined and placed under this goal. Also, there were 3 economically disadvantaged group element policies that were also moved under Goal 3. And then there were also minor revisions to the cultural and historic preservation sections to reflect current programs in consultation with Hillsborough County staff. On to Goal 4, which contains topics related to development. Clarifications were made to mixed use and land use suitability language based upon observations that were made during rezonings. For instance, we added clarifying language about what types of uses qualify for a mix of uses when it is required. Previously, or with currently adopted language, this policy was silent on what types of uses met the requirement. We also updated the transit-oriented development section, which I will get to on the next slide. We also updated the commercial locational criteria section based on board direction, which I will also get to in a few slides. And lastly, we updated the airports and ports section in consultation with Tampa International and port staff. The next section we're going to focus on is that transit-oriented development. Transit-oriented development focuses growth specifically around fixed guideway transit routes. So those are like bus rapid transit, streetcar, or ferry stations. This often overlaps with our major corridors and centers and encourages mobility options, affordable residential units, and mixed-use development. Fowler Avenue continues to be studied as a possible facility enhancement that may utilize the proposed policy in the future. Overall, this idea connects people to opportunities. It is also important to note that this is existing policy language in the plan today that is being clarified. Commercial locational criteria. Based upon the board direction, it was folded into the overall future land use update. The changes proposed before you on the screen are more limited in nature than originally proposed due to BOCC direction, and that's Senate Bill 250. Major revisions that are being proposed for the commercial locational criteria for this flu update include adding neighborhood mixed use 6 as a future land use category within an unincorporated county. We are also proposing to add the context classification map to evaluate appropriate intersections for non-residential development. This map is currently adopted as part of the mobility section, and it is a map that marries both transportation and land use. Originally, it was proposed to replace the outdated 2040 cost affordable map that we use today, but based on input received from the county attorney's office, on Senate Bill 250, our favorite Senate bill, we will be keeping the cost affordable map in the language and adding the context classification map, which will allow for additional intersections to be considered for commercial. I would like to emphasize the word consider. While we are opening up additional opportunities for commercial, any rezoning applications would still be subject to the compatibility and community plan policies in the comp plan today. Lastly, we are adding additional language to ensure that applications for commercial uses will be subject to adopted community plan language. That concludes my section. I'm going to turn it back over to Andrea for the next section. Thank you.
So for Goal 5 on agriculture, we did receive feedback from the Agriculture Economic Development Council, the Farm Bureau, and the Soil and Water Conservation District. We're proposing minor revisions to reflect current programs and continue to focus on the promotion of agriculture for this Goal 5. There will be no changes to the planned village policies or the adoption, child care and community, and planned environmental community 1/2 policies. So Goal 6 is our built environment. So the majority of our existing design policies that are kind of scattered throughout the future land use element are going to be all moved under Goal 6. So this will look at topics such as the urban, suburban, rural form, mixed use and commercial character, and transportation and landscape design. So we're proposing minor edits to clarify and simplify that language and remove any duplicative policies that are already addressed within other goals for this proposed section or other elements of the comprehensive plan. And Goal 7 is balance with natural resources. Again, revisions to reflect current programs and removing duplicative policies. We're also retaining the working waterfront language, which is on retaining and expanding existing recreational commercial working waterfront uses. And we're proposing additional language on transmitting plan amendments to the Port of Tampa Bay. So this has been added based on feedback received from the Port of Tampa Bay staff, and that language would allow for a plan amendment application that's proposing changes to an existing industrial future land use category or within 250 feet of the Port Activity Center to be transmitted to Port staff for agency review. So it would be transmitted to their staff during our normal agency comment cycle for plan amendments. And then our last goal, economic development, Goal 8. So we've worked with economic development staff to make some minor revisions to reflect not only current programs but current terminology, a couple of new policies to protect and encourage office and industrial land uses, and the removal of the Interstate 75 section, as it is an outdated section, and some of these policies are duplicative of other future land use or mobility policies. However, a few policies, like the encouraging provision of affordable housing in our mixed-use developments, staff is going to propose to retain that and move it to under other goals, the future land use element. And then we had 2 community meetings at the beginning of November, and we have 2 more this week. And then just to kind of wrap up, we will be back before you in January for a public hearing. Each of the proposed 8 goals will be a separate plan amendment. And Melissa Leinhardt and I are the project managers, but this has been a team effort, and we have a bunch of staff here to help answer any questions, so thank you.
All right, that's it? All right.
Yeah.
Are there any, I know it was a lot, this is
Yeah.
a big one, so are there any discussion items or questions from the commissioners? I have a list, I'll get it started if no one wants to jump in. Commissioner
I got a
Fernandez.
list, too. Could we go back to what's developable and redevelopable? That map. And as we go back to the map, my question is, that's obviously a GIS query, and I'm curious what falls into that, because I'm looking at the map, and you guys have my favorite park as developable in the future. You have railroad lines, things of that nature. So I'm just curious, what query went into making this map?
So I'm going to hand it over to Yasser, who did the GIS query.
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon. This is Yasser Gonzalez, Planning Commission staff. The criteria is the following. Developable lands are green fields and other lands that are, again, typically it's just a green field. Redevelopable, as the name suggests, is lands that exist and they have various criteria. For example, the house value versus the land value is relatively small, so we expect that to develop. We have some industrial buildings that are older, so we expect them to redevelop. We buildings with small footprints, things like that. Now, if you see some of those things, something that we could correct, but we have had extensive review of this by our land use planners, by the municipalities themselves. So again, we may have maybe missed something, but we don't expect to do so. Yes.
So you don't exclude then city parks or community gardens? I see that on here too, in Temple Terrace anyway.
Community gardens?
Yeah, it's a CSX property and near Temple Terrace. It would cut the access off to the community garden. And Railroad Park seems to be on the list here too. That's a city park.
Again, we can go ahead and review that, but as we said, we went to the Temple Terrace staff. We also went to the Plant City staff, Tampa staff, and they all reviewed this. We also had a land use planners review this. So, all those obvious areas were removed. So we don't expect to see them here.
Okay, and then are you checking this against any flood zones, or is if it's lying right in the middle of a flood zone, it's still developable?
In terms of developable, there is an extraction of wetlands and other areas that are not considered.
Okay, just wetlands though?
Yes.
And I'm curious, because this is put on us so often, why isn't the coastal high hazard area eliminating certain parcels?
That's not one of the criteria to be in the coastal high hazard area. It's not one of the criteria that we use.
Okay.
Well, and we look at sorry if I can jump in. We look at these not only for development for residential land uses, but also for non-residential uses, because we have to accommodate employment as well. So, that's why they would be still considered for non-residential land uses.
Okay, I get concerned when I see open space, on that list, and that's why I'm bringing up the question, especially, we've had going back to the live local, because this was part of it too, a lot approved for residential there that I think, what did I calculate, 85% of it was in a flood zone, and I think that's on that map too. So that's why I'm just asking if we're going to be identifying future development, then maybe shore up that criteria. And I'm just being constructive for everybody. It shouldn't just be a blanket query. I feel like we have to.
That's why we had an extensive review process. For example, in Temple Terrace itself, there was a lot of properties that go around the river that are older houses in the river that have above, larger acreage. And we were told that they were not going to be redeveloped because, again, it's a historical neighborhood. So even though it meets the criteria, again, small footprint, you have a larger lot. And you have in an area that's that is decidable. We were told that those are not, so we went back to the table and reviewed those. So yes, we had a screening process. Not only we just pulled the criteria, but we had a screening process that involved myself again, and then also land use planners, city staff, county staff to review this. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But we'll take a look at you said it's Railroad Park is what it's called?
Yeah, I mean, this is another issue. I didn't want to be too picky, but with the slides, it's hard to see, but that's what I think it is.
Yeah.
That's in other
we can
CX
take a look.
abandoned railroads in our area that are green spaces now, which I think there's even been proposed for community trails and that would be redevelopable, so that's great. I just was trying to get a handle on that.
Yes, yes, and again, we're happy to look at that. Yes.
All right, yes, Commissioner Sieben.
I just had a quick question. I think you guys said that each of these goals is going to be presented to us individually. Will they be at their own meetings? They're all going to be at one meeting, or how should we prepare
have
for that?
a meeting on the 22nd. I think it's just for the county future land use.
Yeah, one of your agenda items later is approving the 2024 meeting schedule, and we're proposing to have a separate public hearing for the update of the future land use element. So all 8 goals would be on that one night, but it would be separate from the other plan amendments that are a part of the county plan amendment cycle, because we thought that was getting to be a bit long for one evening. Yeah, and just to explain, part of the strategy with having 8 plan amendments is so that if there's an issue with one part of it, the rest can move forward. It's been a long time coming to get the county's plan updated, so we really want to move as much forward as possible.
My only comment for that would be to be as thoughtful about it as we could, and if different commissioners did have comment, it might be a good idea to break that up, to not do all 8 in one day, if everybody else agrees.
All right. Commissioner Kress.
Thank you for doing this. I know it's a lot of work, and it looks like you're really going about it in a thoughtful manner. I was kind of taking notes, and I saw a lot of things that I checked off my list that were included, but I didn't see anything specifically about ELAP and the new focus on wildlife corridors. So, just, if you haven't thought of that, please put it on your list.
Yep, I believe that those policies were updated in the, it's environmental and sustainability section.
Yes.
So we will double check. Mr. College is out of town today, but we'll double check with him. But I believe that has all been updated in that section.
That's great. And then maybe a suggestion to coordinate with the affordable housing councils or committees, because obviously this very much relates to affordability, and the two might work together well if you haven't already done that. Love to see that you are talking about preserving industrial uses. Whatever you can do to sneak in some good design policies would be appreciated. I was thrilled to see the words historic preservation as part of it, so that was a nice surprise. Transit-oriented development, don't need to say more about that. The flooding, I knew Commissioner Fernandez would bring that up. And I was just curious that I think you started by saying that 80% of our new growth is supposed to be directed within the USA currently, and I wondered, are we hitting that? Maybe I should know the answer, but I don't off the top of my head, or if anyone knows.
Yeah.
Yes, Sir Gonzalez, once again, Planning Commission staff. Yes, ma'am, there will be a slight reduction in terms of will be around 78% of the new growth going to the urban service area. But so again, just slight reduction with all the assumptions that we made. However, 98% of the population and jobs will be within the urban service area by 2050. So that is again, although the new growth is going to come in, it's just not going to really push that up. So.
Yeah, and just to expand on what Yasser said, we have historically been well above 80% of new growth within the urban service area, but what we're seeing is going forward, that percentage is going to start to drop, and that I believe is a key indicator that it's time to plan for expansion of the urban service area.
Yes.
And
or get better at infill.
Yes, yes, both. And that's why we've got this two-pronged strategy of looking inward with the centers and connections incentive, but also planning for some expansion areas. And I've gotten some feedback that maybe we weren't entirely clear in our presentation when we did a workshop to the BOCC, that we're saying the time to start that planning is now, because waiting just puts us more behind the gun and more pressure on the, and more reactive. We're seeing a lot of amendments, or you all are too, coming in with it outside the urban service area, maybe wanting to increase density in the rural area, that's not planning well for that growth. So rather than have it kind of occur haphazard in the rural area and us start to have the amount of growth in the rural area creep upward, as a planner, it's our recommendation that we actually plan for that growth and perhaps have an expansion area. So that's what we're saying needs to start now.
And if it pleases the chair, it's also, since we have everybody's attention now, it's good to remind or like bring up the fact that 58% of the agricultural land that this county has currently is expected to remain agricultural through 2050. So again, so this is not an exercise in gorging, all the agricultural land that we have, which is a misperception that's out there. We like to make sure that that's corrected and that the records reflect that. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Commissioner Love, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. On the urban service area, I took a note on that where we said we're moving, maybe not from an applicant-driven process, but are we adding a privately driven, or it's currently privately driven process and we're going to a publicly driven mode. Is that an and, or is that an?
It's an and.
Okay.
There'll still be the current option. It's just adding this framework for planning for, proactively planning for public expansion areas.
Okay. And then could we hear a little bit more about the I-75 section that's being removed?
Yes, so that section is pretty outdated. We haven't made any major changes since our 2008 update. So we have a lot of policies. So for example, we have policies in there on the airport where we're moving to the airport section. We have policies on affordable housing. We're moving to other goals. But the interstate kind of policies we were proposing to remove, but in conjunction with some of the new policies in the economic development section on encouraging office and industrial land uses.
And I would just add that that those policies my understanding is that they were put in place in the early 90s when there wasn't a lot of development around the I-75 corridor. We're way past that point at this point. And many of, as Andrea said, many of the concepts that were in there we saw were good things that should apply all throughout the urban service area or all throughout the county. It wasn't just applicable to that corridor.
And the last thing I had was the commercial location criteria. It seems we've changed some of the policies or the writing around that. This has evolved quite a bit in the last year since you guys have been bringing it to us. Early in the process, I don't have my notes. This is a brand new notebook, so I can't go back and look. There was a specific percentage of parcels that were being included and a certain percentage that were excluded with the commercial location criteria that was being contemplated. Do we have updated data on that? With the way it was being applied?
Yeah, I think he was speaking at the intersections. We wanted to know like how many.
We were pushing a lot of the commercial location criteria towards the intersections, disallowing some privately initiated developments.
Yeah, it's still, so essentially what we're doing is we are leaving the locational criteria the same as it is today. So we're not changing it. All we are adding is an additional map to look at for more intersections. So we are not taking anything away from anyone. We are adding additional intersections that can be considered for non-residential development. We are not doing, and there were in previous iterations limitations on the types of uses that could go in these intersections. We've removed all of that.
Okay.
So we are,
that was my next question.
Yeah, basically leaving it as is today with the addition of some additional intersections. We're addressing the fact that we've heard that the suburban mixed-use 6 land use category, which allows everything from agricultural to industrial uses, is way too broad, and that folks would like another alternative that's more intensive than residential 6, but less intensive than suburban mixed-use 6. So that's where we came up with neighborhood mixed-use 6. But really, we're leaving it mostly alone.
Yeah, we are adding some community plan language, but all that does is clarify, because we got questions during community meetings. All that does is clarify that you come in for commercial use, we have to review that against community plan language. And we already do that today. We're just adding in there to kind of clarify for folks that we're not removing their community plans, because we did get that question.
Fantastic. Thanks.
All right. I was wondering myself, the cost affordable, we were going to remove the cost affordable map before. What?
Yes, with the Senate Bill 250 language, we ran the county attorney advised us that we cannot remove that map.
Well, part of the issue was the map that we use today is the 2040.
Yeah, 2040.
Cost affordable. The currently adopted cost affordable is the 2045, and they're in the process of updating it to the 2050. So it was out of date, and it was not showing all the intersections that do exist, and it showed some intersections that have since been decided not to be built because the roadway alignments have moved. But to be the conservative, prudent approach, as advised by the county attorney's office, was to keep that map and add the other map, so then we have the most choices of intersections.
Yeah, why would we, removing it's not updating it?
Right,
I can understand that it's old and it should be updated because we're at 2040, they're at 2045, they're working on a new one. Why wouldn't we say, we were planning on updating the cost affordable map? You said that we were planning on removing it, and now we're not removing it.
Right.
Why would we ever want to remove it altogether?
Well, because we thought we believe that the context classification map is a more accurate representation of the roadway intersections and is more up to date. So
Does that
was
make development more restrictive? Isn't that what Senate Bill 250 is all about?
Well, that's why we're adding, because there were only a few. I mean, Andrea did the analysis back when we had the amendment in January in front of you all, that about the number of intersections that were being removed by that change from one map to the other. But that's not what we're doing now. We're keeping the current map and adding the new map. And we will assess over time whether or not we're utilizing the cost affordable 2040 map still or not. And we can come back and update that, or, alter that in the future based on what we see. But the advisement of the attorneys is that we use both maps for now.
I think the last thing I would have is, in respect to Senate Bill 250, with the advising of the attorneys that we pause or delay this whole initiative, I would be interested to see what covenants or what items we think are more restrictive moving in to the new policy versus the old. So if we could create a bulletized list of that, it would be interesting to see what are the specific things that are more restrictive that legal's flagging.
Well, we do not have any of those included. If legal has flagged it, we have removed it from the draft.
Yeah.
So
is our intent to go back after the governor signs?
Not as part of this set of amendments. I will be honest, there were a couple of things that they said that we had proposed to delete, because they're not being utilized. But the attorneys said it could be perceived that might be more restrictive because you took something away. I think if the governor signs it, we might revisit whether or not we could continue to streamline and delete some of those things. But we're vetting this draft with the public. I do not plan that we will be modifying it to add anything more. That would be disingenuous to go then and add in a bunch of more restrictive and burdensome things between now and January.
All right.
Thanks.
And after throwing that grenade, I'll move on to my next item, which was the working waterfronts. It struck me as interesting. You guys kind of move into and beyond the working waterfronts thing pretty quickly. What is the working waterfront angle that we're going after here? What are we trying to do?
It's language that's in the comprehensive plan today. It's required by state statute, and I don't believe we're changing anything.
We made minor adjustments. That's where we put in the additional language for the port activity plan amendments, and we kind of clarified language based on talking with county staff.
Okay.
But no major changes besides the addition of that Port Activity Center language for plan amendments.
And that's just where we send it to them for their comments?
Yeah, they
through the
just
cycle?
wanted to make sure if there's a change to a existing industrial category, if it's around 250 feet of the Port Activity Center, that they get copied on all those and they can make their comments or review. So we added that in there.
All right. And the three disadvantaged, they were moved somewhere to a different element or something? What?
So we have, I think you're talking about 3 policies that are in the economically disadvantaged element. So we move those over to the flu. I think that element, it's referred to as EDGE, is the kind of acronym. I believe that's being removed because all the policies were kind of dispersed to other sections of the comp plan, but I asked Melissa Z just to clarify for me.
Yeah, so a number of the policies have already been moved into the housing section. There were a few that were moved into parks. Mobility has a whole goal on equity. And so now there is a goal in the future land use section on community context and equity.
Yep, goal 3 is our kind of context, equity, community planning goal, so we moved them in there.
We're getting rid of the whole economically disadvantaged communities section, and we're scattering it to different parts of our new document.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to want to talk to the group about that some more privately. We have talked about it in the past, so I'm kind of surprised to hear that. But we'll discuss it some more. TDR pilot, the TDR pilot program. I wanted to hear a little bit more about that.
So the TDR pilot, that was recommended edits by county staff. They worked with a consultant to make those edits. I'm gonna ask MZ if she has, I know she's got some bullets from Adam on that, so I don't know if she has anything else to add.
Yeah, the county worked through, at the direction of the Board of County Commissioners, the fact that nobody's ever used the existing transfer of development rights program in the that's been in place for a while. So they hired Kimley Horn to do some revisions, not only in the comprehensive plan, but also to the land development code, because the implementation of the TDR program is in the land development code. And so that has resulted in the language that is in the future land use element. There will be a companion land development code amendment that comes along with that to so that it can be seamlessly implemented. What it does is it does revise some of the sending areas, which are mostly environmental areas, some areas in the rural area, and identifies additional receiving areas, which are the Waimama downtown. That was part of the Waimama community planning effort that we did a couple of years ago. And then the centers and connections will also be receiving areas. Today, there are not very many functional receiving areas. They're more sending areas than there are receiving areas. So we're hopeful that this improves the balance of those, and it's dubbed a pilot program to see if folks actually use it now.
That's what struck me was the pilot part of it. I was wondering if the county was involved in it, so hearing that they are is very comforting. All right.
Quick question on that.
Yeah, Commissioner Sieben.
The receiving areas, you said that those are the new those are the connectors. My question is, the new connectors in the map that you showed us, or is that all connectors?
Yeah, the new ones that are on the map that we showed, they would be eligible for a density and intensity bonus if they just did the more walkable design that's being called for. But then on top of that density and intensity bonus, they could get additional transfer of development rights into those areas because they're identified as being eligible for, redevelopment and infill.
And the walkable nature, is that the setbacks differential and the wider sidewalks, all that kind of stuff? Okay. All right, thanks.
Yep.
All right. Are there any more discussion items? Commissioner Bowden looks like he's thinking about moving on something. Say it. Just say it, man.
I was thinking about the TDR, and I know that one of the part of the discussion was exactly where could they actually they come from? Would they be county-wide going into areas, or is it specific to the geographic area that's receiving?
So, I believe, but I will double check and make sure we have the right answer. But I believe that this will expand it, that it could come from other places countywide, mostly again in the rural area, and directed towards more environmentally sensitive areas that the county wants to preserve. So it's an incentive to do that, to be able to transfer the development rights. But I want to double check to make sure that that applies in Waimama as well. I see Jay sitting back there. I don't want to put him on the spot, but we'll double check that. How about that?
All right, Commissioner Fernandez.
I did want to also earlier talk about the agriculture. Is there anything in the plan or any future amendments to reflect urban farms? I've recently been with graduate students on the Homegrown Hillsborough project and was kind of shocked to see how little urban farms we have in the city. So I'm just curious, is there anything within the...
Well, given the Right to Farm Act in the state, agriculture is permitted in all land use categories. It's not prohibited from anywhere. I don't know, though, that there's anything specific encouraging urban farms, but certainly they're permitted.
Okay.
Yeah, we have just more of policies on preserving and protecting family farms. That's pursuant to state statute, and then just that we allow all agricultural uses, even in our non-rural land use categories, but we don't call out an urban farm.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all good questions and discussions. Are there any more comments, questions from the commissioners? Seeing none at this point, we will allow Andrea to retire after that and move on to our next agenda item. All right, next up we have item 6, our executive director's report. And the presenter is Melissa Zornita.
All right. Good afternoon, Melissa Zornita, Executive Director. At your seats, you should have a copy of my Executive Director's report. It's been a busy month. There are a couple of things I did want to highlight from this list. We've had a couple of meetings on a report that has been requested by the Board of County Commissioners to us with Development Services to come back with a report on the community benefits that were a part of the RP2 and the WVR2 work that many of you all were on the Planning Commission for, that we brought forward about 2 years ago. So we're working on that and anticipating that that will come back to the Board of County Commissioners in December or January. We did have an information barbecue. One of the awards jury members from the Florida State Department of Urban and Regional Planning came down for the awards and was kind enough to share about their North Star Legacy Communities project that they did, which was a storytelling project learning about the community context in some rural communities in the Panhandle. We had our design awards on October 18th and appreciate all of you who were able to be there and all the feedback that you gave in our Public Information Committee meeting earlier. On October 20th, we had our annual staff retreat that included our look at the strategic plan. We had delayed that retreat to make sure that we had the new TPO executive director be able to be a part of that. So we are anticipating having a draft of the strategic plan to you all, I believe in December, with an opportunity for you all to give us some feedback on what we've put together. We will also take that to the River Board and the TPO for their feedback, and then have you all adopt it after the first of the year. We've had a couple of meetings on the Live Local Act, which I think was mentioned earlier, and we had the opportunity, I met with the county. They had an interest in us convening all 4 local governments in a meeting to discuss the implementation of the Live Local Act, because they wanted to kind of talk through how they could do that consistently across the jurisdictions. I thought that was a good highlight of our role just as a convener of all 4 local governments, and something that we're uniquely situated and able to do. We had a workshop with the board on the amendments to the future land use element that you just heard. We've also had some meetings with the Tampa Bay Builders Association, the Tampa Bay Realtors, on that same topic, getting feedback on that, and wanted to mention that on Wednesday, Commissioner Myers has an agenda item on the board's agenda to request that we come back not only with this proactive approach that we're putting into the goals and objectives and policies of the future land use element, but then come back in the spring with some identified geographies for studying the expansion areas. So the sentiment that I'm hearing is that they're quite eager to move forward with that master planning for some expansion areas. Last week, I had the opportunity to join a Tampa delegation convened by the Tampa Bay Partnership on a tour of Brightline. So we went down to Miami and then took the train up to Orlando. It's a fantastic experience if you have the opportunity to use it. It's a really convenient way to get across the state. It will be even more convenient if it gets to Tampa. So that's what we all were discussing quite a bit, is how we can help make that happen. I also last week had the opportunity to present one of the Planning and Design Awards to the Tampa CRA. That's Tampa City Council sits as their community redevelopment agency, and the Ybor CRA was so excited about their award. They won an award for the lighting across 7th Avenue, and asked me to present that to them formally at that meeting, which was very nice. On the back side of the page, you'll see an update on a number of the plan amendments that are in process with the different jurisdictions. One thing I wanted to highlight that inadvertently got left off the list, but in Hillsborough County, Plan Amendment 2307 was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. This was at Big Bend Road. It was outside the urban service area, in the rural area in the RP2 land use category, and they were requesting residential 9. We found it inconsistent. You all found it inconsistent. The board approved it. They did so with direction to us to look at how assisted living facilities could be facilitated in the plan, so that's what the applicant intended to do. They had their rezoning concurrent with it in front of the board. The board liked the idea of an assisted living facility in that area and have asked us to come back with some language on how we might be able to accommodate that. So we're looking at some different options of how we can allow perhaps for assisted living facility uses in some different land use categories than they've traditionally been, and maybe with some additional density or intensity. Just for that use, as opposed to what happened, which was they ended up approving residential 9 that could be townhomes or something else in that area. So while I wasn't thrilled perhaps with the outcome of that being approved, I was happy that the board acknowledged that that wasn't the best process to be using, and that they'd like to address that use differently. And I see your, yeah, it's east of 301, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling to remember this one. What was the board's vote and what was our vote?
Oh, you need your microphone on.
Turn your mic on.
It was a good project. It seemed really good, but it just wasn't consistent because the land use wouldn't fit.
Yeah, my recollection was that it it was denied by, staff found it inconsistent, and that this board found it inconsistent because it was in the rural area and the density of 9 units per acre was inconsistent with the rural area policies. And again, that's where the board of county commissioners struggled with that same issue, but ultimately came down, I think because of the companion rezoning, feeling sure that there was some surety with that, limiting it to the assisted living use, but wanted to see if we couldn't come up with a policy solution or a land use category. You know, they were throwing out ideas of just an assisted living land use category. We might look at that as well as some other directions, so that there's a path for that type of project to go forward. It was sort of unique because it was in this RP2 land use category that had access to water and sewer in the rural area, which most areas would not have that same fact set, that it would, and you wouldn't be able to do a project of that size on a septic tank. So, just.
Maybe that's an area that we should consider for the expansion of the rural service area.
Yes, that's something that we've been talking about internally as staff is, you know, the RP2 and the WVR2 land use categories already allow 2 units per acre. They allow extensions of water and sewer. It makes some sense from a planning standpoint to look at those areas before opening up to new areas, but it also, I know, was quite controversial just to arrive at what we got with the 2 units per acre, because a lot of the folks who live in those areas want those areas to stay rural. But I think we're going to face that controversy in whatever direction we expand. So it's not going to be easy. The last thing that I wanted to mention is that the Planning Commission staff will be having our holiday lunch here on our floor on December 5th at noontime. It's a Tuesday, and would welcome any and all of you who would like to attend and join us. We are having a potluck, so you'll get to experience what staff creates.
What time is it?
Or purchases, whichever way that goes. So that's all I had for today. Thank you.
All right. Were there any other questions or discussion items? No. We'll thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Move on to our next agenda item. Other business, chair's business. I have none. Old business. I don't believe there is any. New business. Looks like we have some 2024 meeting schedule.
Yes, it was attached in the backup. Most of the meetings are on the second Monday of the month. There are a couple of exceptions that I'll highlight. In January, we're proposing that on the that there be not only your meeting on January 8th, which is the second Monday, but also that we have an additional public hearing on January 22nd at 5:30 for the update of the future land use element, because we think that is substantial enough to have its own hearing. We similarly did that also in the month of September for the update of the City of Tampa's future land use element. So in September, it would be September 9th, and then on September 23rd, an additional public hearing at 5:30. The only other variant from the second Monday is in November. The second Monday is Veterans Day, so we would be looking at the third Monday, November 18th. So we'd be looking for your all's approval of the schedule.
So there's 2 months where we have 2 meetings?
That is correct. But it's not 2 regular meetings, it's just an additional public hearing,
yeah.
so the 5:30.
Those are sometimes the worst. I mean,
Right.
you're not selling
That's
things
fair.
here.
I just am not
Yes.
eating into your workday as much, perhaps.
All right. Is this, I mean, I know we've been getting more and more work. Is this going to be like a trend? Is this the start of next year going to 3? Not that, I mean, we're all here to serve, so,
No, I really think this is isolated to the significant updates to the future land use sections. The other sections of the plan, we've been able to easily accommodate as part of your regular public hearing cycles for those jurisdictions. I think these, it's been a long time since the county's plan's been updated. And the city of Tampa is contemplating some pretty innovative things with the future land use assessment results, looking at all those new density bonuses. So we just want to make sure that it's not overwhelming the rest of the items, because I think we've got 4 or 5 regular plan amendments for the county for the January 8th public hearing. Adding that on top of the flu assessment would make for a really long evening, so that's why we've separated it.
All right. So I guess we are going to need some sort of motion of approval or motion from the
I
commission.
move the proposed 2024 schedule.
All right. Got a motion by Commissioner Kress. We have a second to that motion. Commissioner Sieben?
Second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Kress, second by Commissioner Sieben. Are there any questions or complaints about the schedule? Not seeing any at this time. And I would like to ask everybody, oh yeah, we're doing this new vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays? Not hearing any, so it's unanimous. All right. And next up, we have committee reports. Commissioner Rodriguez.
Yes, on the 18th of October, City of Tampa had their Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting. We received briefings from Housing and Community Development staff on 7 different programs that they've got going on. Some of the new business items are their Infill 3 program is their RFQ is anticipated to hit the street on 18 December. The annual action plan has been approved by HUD for the next fiscal year, and the 9% low-income housing tax credit project for this year was selected, and that's going to be the New South Residential Project, which is 88 elderly affordable housing units on a 1.7-acre site on East Hillsborough Avenue. Our next meeting will be 15th of November at the city's new facility out at 2555 East Hannah.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Bowd?
Yes, the AHAB, what is that? The Affordable Housing Advisory Board, we met today on the 13th. There was a public comment about Blue Sky Community Organization, which is breaking ground December 8th for 104 units, which is a affordable housing community. It's on Martin Luther King, excuse me. Also, most of you familiar with the Board of County Commissioners only allotted $2 million to the HOPE Fund. See what else? Also, the affordable housing, they're setting up a document repository that they will have documents there to be utilized by the other agencies as well. That is about it.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Kress?
Yes, the Public Information Committee met earlier today, and the agenda was to review the design awards from this last month and then talk about next year, and the consensus was that it was really good and we should basically just rinse and repeat.
Short and sweet, I like it. All right, were there any other committee reports? All right, not seeing any, then we'll move on to our last item of business, which is the end of this thing. And so we will be coming back at what time? What time are we supposed to? All right, so 5:45, we'll start the public hearing, and this meeting is adjourned at 5:15.